This is Work From Home, the podcast that helps you stay connected, productive and sane while working remotely. I'm Harry, and today I spoke with Steve Folland about how if you are working from home with children, you should maybe cut yourself some slack. Kids, Playdough. This is the main thing I want to talk to you about, specifically Playdough.
Playdough sucks, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does. So actually, ours isn't old enough to be using that. We've just got to Duplo, so I'm pretty stoked about that.
Oh, that's good. I'll tell you what's good about Duplo. Unlike Playdough, it can't be rammed into a USB socket on a computer.
Yeah, right.
That is the only reason that MacBook Pros come with 4 slots for devices, is because 3 of them will be used up by Playdough.
And the 4th by macaroni or something. Okay. So as you know, for a lot of us, we're kind of adapting this to this new situation where we're trying to fit work around kind of homeschooling kids. Your kids aren't homeschooled, I don't think, but you've definitely been doing this for a long time of been working from home and having children. So again, for the other uninitiated, what does a structured day? Well, there's no such thing as a structured day, I'd imagine. So how does one strive for structure in this kind of environment?
Well, okay, in which kind of environment? The current one or the normal one?
Well, I suppose the current one.
Okay, well, here's the thing, and it might not be what lots of people want to hear, but it's important, is that it's impossible to work from home with children around. Like, I've tried it through enough half terms. Our kids are age 7 and 10 now. One of them just had a birthday in lockdown. So, yeah, I've had enough half terms over the past 6 years or so to realise that you can't work when the children are in the house, not properly, not without getting stressed. You can check your email, you can keep things ticking over, but you can't properly do anything. It's just too stressful. So really, normally the way around that is to outsource. So you either outsource your work or you outsource the care. So, you know, you might get a day club, or you might get, you know, if it was your way of living, then you might get a nanny, I guess, or you send your child to school, which is that's the whole point. You know, it's one of the main points of school. Yes, it's to educate them, but it's to get them out of the house so that other adults can actually earn a living and keep the world going, right? So that's where it kind of goes out the window. You might think that's not particularly helpful, but I think what that should do is mean that you should cut yourself some slack if you're struggling to get your work done with kids around. You've got to realise that's not your fault. It is simply impossible to do it. And for that matter, your bosses or, you know, whoever you report to, they need to realise that too. Hopefully they're in the same sort of situation. I think there was a point when lockdown first happened where people thought, oh, well, we'll just start working from home and it'll be fine. The ones who have kids, I think, 3 days later, realise it's really not possible. And so if there's 2 of you working, maybe you need to have 1 day on, 1 day off, or half day on, half day off, and agree that with the people you work with. Block it out in the diary so that people know you're not around. And they have to realise that that's because it's not because working from home doesn't work. It's not because flexible working doesn't work. It's because working from home in a pandemic doesn't work.
Yes.
So for me personally, I made the decision not to work. So I do bits and pieces of an evening. The most of my work I do at the weekend. And the way I've kind of built my business, accidentally, I didn't try to pandemic proof it, was to hire other people. So I have animators and audio editors or voiceover people or whoever I might need. It's not always me doing it. I have to, so I use the weekends to bring everything together, but I can use other people. So that's how I've managed to cope. So that means my wife can continue working a normal job, as it were, from the dining room at the moment, while I teach the kids or look after the kids or just try to stop the whole household having a breakdown.
Yep.
And that's how we've done it. But yeah, you just need to adjust. I think it must be a lot harder if you're both trying to work and you're both employed. And I think really you just need to have those discussions with each other, so that one person doesn't just think that your job is more important than somebody else's, but also with your employer. One of the best things I said to one of my regular clients right at the beginning of this was I wrote to them and I said, your end clients, these big companies we work for need to realise that you can't work from home with children. And so all the deadlines we've agreed to are no longer going to be met. Like, much as we'd love to, everybody needs to get real with this. So we've all got to cut each other some slack. And this isn't business as usual, which is what people kept saying at the time. Oh, it's business as usual, but from home.
Exactly, yeah.
It isn't. It's not business as usual. It's business as best we can. And I sent that email off. And ever since, life has been a lot less stressful because they basically cut us slack. And for that matter, I think they're cutting themselves some slack because, like I say, I think people thought they could just be normal, and most people simply can't. Not if you're actually trying to look after children.
No, I think it was interesting. There was a certain level of sort of it's like people had their blinkers on. They just sort of thought it'll be fine. It's a couple of weeks. It'll all blow over, and we'll all carry on as normal. But that reality is definitely not the case. Thanks again to Steve. You can find more information about what he's up to at beingfreelance.com and doingitforthekids.net. As ever, thanks very much for listening. We would really appreciate it if you could share this episode with one other person who's working from home that you think would also benefit.